Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal. I hope all is well when you're enjoying your week. Thanks for all the support as always and for watching the videos. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about players who could be heading off, and most specifically starting off with Matteo Guendouzi. Now, I think we've all come to the conclusion that Matteo Guendouzi is not going to be an Arsenal player for the long term. Obviously, he had his loan spell last season when Marseille did very, very well during that loan spell, helped Marseille to a second place finish in Ligue 1, securing qualifications to the Champions League. Has also become a fully fledged France international during that time. Now, my understanding is his move to Marseille will now be confirmed pretty imminently. He is away at the moment with France. As a lot of the international players are during the Nations League, that sort of thing. I think once that stay comes to an end, then it won't be too long until we hear confirmation that Guendouzi has joined Marseille on a permanent basis. The loan deal that was agreed last summer with Marseille included a option to make that deal permanent this summer. There were a couple of clauses that could have stopped it happening, but they were really silly clauses, like if Marseille were relegated, something like that, which basically gave Marseille a little bit of protection in terms of the potential finances had they gone down and they didn't get stuck with Guendouzi on big wages, that sort of thing. Obviously, that didn't happen. They had a very good season. They're in the Champions League, and so those clauses haven't been hit, and that means that he will now complete his permanent move to Marseille. That should happen fairly soon, I'm told. I'm not sure the exact time frame of it, but I think it's going to be pretty imminent. It's going to be about £9 million Arsenal are going to receive for Guendouzi. They received a loan fee last season as well. I think basically in total, the whole thing with Marseille is going to pocket them about £10 million plus Guendouzi's wages, that sort of thing, off the wage bill. Is that enough money? You have to say no. Just looking at how young he is, how he's done at Marseille, the fact he's a France international, it's not a very good price for Guendouzi. There's no getting around that. As is the way with Arsenal, who are notoriously dreadful when it comes to selling players. I think that the fact this was kind of the price was agreed before the season he's had didn't help. Had he not had this good a season, had they not agreed that price, then they probably could have demanded a lot more this summer because of the season he's had. But it could work both ways. He could have gone there, been awful, and then not been worth much money at all because he'd only have a year left on his contract. So yeah, it works a little bit both ways, but there's no doubt about it. When you're looking at it now in the cold light of day, you're thinking, yeah, Arsenal have again lost a very decent player here for not money that nowhere near that he's worth, and it's something they've got to improve on. It's been said it for years. It's going on time and time again. They're just not receiving much money for players, and they're struggling. It doesn't help that most of Europe has no money, but when you look at it and you look at how Guendouzi's done, then definitely could have been getting more than £9 million for him. When you look around Europe and look at some of the other players who are moving and what transfer fees they're going for, it feels like Arsenal haven't got anywhere near enough money for a player of Guendouzi's talent. The way things ended for him at Arsenal didn't help. It didn't put him in a good bargaining position because everyone knew that he wasn't going to play for Arsenal, that he'd fallen out of Arteta and Arsenal were looking to get rid. So that certainly didn't help with it. But yeah, frustrating one in a way, but at least it's some money in. It's a player off the books who wasn't going to feature, and it's the first of a fair few players who Arsenal will be looking to shift on and get some sort of transfer fees in for over the next next couple of months, next few weeks. Guendouzi, Lucas Torreira, talks ongoing with Fiorentina over him. Transfer fee again is a bit of an issue with this one. Haven't been able to agree anything with Arsenal yet. Torreira, more than he had a very good time at Fiorentina last season. The fans absolutely want him to stay. Fiorentina have expressed a willingness, as far as I'm aware, to make his move permanent, but it all comes down to transfer fees. Maybe Arsenal could get a higher transfer fee from someone else. We'll have to wait and see how that progresses. But other players, Pablo Mari, again, Arsenal hoping to strike some sort of deal with maybe not Udinese, where he had a good spell last season, but an Italian club, to get Pablo Mari off the books. Hector Bellerin, wages here are the issue when it comes to his move to Real Betis. Loved his time there. Last season on loan, was successful, won a trophy. He took a big wage cut to make that loan move permanent last summer. I'm told from people close to this deal that Bellerin was on about 4 million. In with Arsenal, he basically accepted about 1 million to make that move to Betis last summer. And Betis, although they want Bellerin to return, have made it very, very clear that he's going to have to take a very big pay cut, on a permanent basis to make this deal happen. Nothing's been agreed yet. Bellerin, as much as he wants to move to Betis, I suppose you've got to weigh things up, don't you, in terms of what financial commitments he's got, and suddenly reducing your wages by 4 times what he was getting before. It's not the easiest decision, as much as on paper it looks like it's still a lot of money going to the club that he loves. He's settled there, had a very good season, but you've got to weigh up all the financial commitments, that sort of thing. So we'll wait and see what happens with Hector Bellerin, Daniel Ballard I've spoken about before. These are all players that Arsenal will be looking to get transfer fees in for, and when you sort of look at it and you list all the names down, you're looking at 30 million, 40 million perhaps, if you can get some good deals, and that's before you get to Bernd Leno and Nicolas Pepe, 2 players who could also leave this summer should a decent offer come in for them elsewhere. So lots of work for Edu to do. All the focus at the moment, clearly, when it comes to fans, is about possible incomings, but I think outgoings, there's huge amounts of work to be done there, and that's on top of the contract situations and, of course, the incomings that we've all been talking about for the last few weeks. Alexandre Lacazette, his move now to Lyon has been confirmed. That was announced today. He had a press conference with Lyon, 3-year contract for Lacazette. Good luck to him. Very certainly held in very high regard when it comes to Arsenal and the team and the management and the players. No doubt about it, though, when you look at his time at Arsenal in his 5 years, just didn't hit the heights any of us were really hoping for. I think 14 goals was the most he scored in a Premier League season for someone who cost nearly £50 million. It's just not enough. It's not what we were expecting when he signed. Very much his goal tally tailed off. I think that 14 goals was his first season at Arsenal. His goal tally tailed off. I mean, this season was pitiful when it comes to scoring goals. 4 in the Premier League, 3 of those were penalties. Just not good enough. And Arsenal need to move on and have this changing of the guard that we're all expecting when it comes to the forward line this summer. So I think everyone wishes Lacazette good luck. I hope he goes back and has a really good time in Lyon and finds his goal scoring form again. But when you kind of look back at his legacy, or whatever you want to call it, you look back at his 5-year stay with Arsenal, it's impossible to look at it and just not think, that it was a bit of a letdown. It just didn't quite happen for him. He had some very good moments. He scored some big goals. He deservedly won Player of the Season that one season. I think it was 19-20, wasn't it, under Unai Emery, when him and Orba really dovetailed well in attack, scored goals. You look at the run to the Europa League final that season, Lacazette was massively influential in that. So he had plenty of good moments. He scored some big goals, scored against Tottenham a few times, which is always good when you're an Arsenal player. But on the whole 5 years, despite the good points, despite the good link-up play at times, ultimately you're judged on goals when you're a striker and you cost £50 million, and he has not scored enough. And I think that's how he's going to be remembered during his time at Arsenal, as popular as he has been. So I can't really bring you any new updates when it comes to incomings. I'm afraid it's just all a bit of a waiting game with Tielemans and Jesus both still away with their international teams. Tielemans still got 2 games left. He played yesterday, started for Belgium. They battered, I think it was Poland 6-1. Started in midfield for them. He obviously spoke publicly in a press conference in the build-up to that game about his future, admitting he might go this summer, but that his focus was purely on Belgium. They've still got 2 more games to go in the coming days. I think it's Wales and then Poland again, and then things will start to move forward. Him, as I've said, Arsenal are hoping that they can get something done for Tielemans. These talks have been going on for a long, long time with his representatives. They have to now make those talks into ones that materialise with Leicester, and that maybe won't be as easy as it will be with the representatives. Leicester, however, are aware that they might have to cash in on him given his contract situation if a good offer arrives. There's talk from journalists in and around the Midlands that 25 million might be enough. I've spoken about that before here and said, for me that's an absolute bargain for a player of Tielemans' quality. If you can get him for 25 million, then you just get it done as soon as possible. Once this international period is over, just get it done. And it's the same with Jesus. There is rival interest, competition in Jesus. It isn't going to make it perhaps as easy as the Tielemans ones to get over the line. Arsenal are going to have to convince him. Still, despite these talks ongoing, he's quite open to a move. It's been admitted publicly by his agents that the Arsenal one is an appealing option for him. But when you've got clubs potentially like Real Madrid, Chelsea, as well, who are believed to be interested in Jesus, it's just not it's not absolutely simple. And so I think that's one there's going to be ups and downs in that one. I think once this international period is over, might not be as simple as perhaps Tielemans to get over the line. So it's all a bit of a waiting game when it comes to the incomings, and I know you're all desperate for news. I see it on my mentions, on the comments here, especially on Twitter. Anything I tweet, all the replies are just about transfer news, who we sign in. I just, I'm not hiding it or anything like that. If I had anything new, if other journalists had anything new, they would break it, they would say it. But at the moment, it's just a bit of a waiting game when it comes to Arsenal. I was speaking to someone I know at the club yesterday, and it was just a case of, look, we just got to wait. Things are going to happen. The signings are going to happen, but it doesn't happen at the click of the fingers like this. It's not as simple as that. I think Arsenal at the moment, the focus is also on getting some players out the door. Like I said at the start of this, like Guendouzi, those sort of deals as well. Get them done, and the incomings will follow. So it's just a case of being a little bit patient, I'm afraid. And I know patience when it comes to transfers is not something that sort of goes hand in hand, but that's a situation we find ourselves in. In terms of pre-season now, I mean, we're less than a month away from Arsenal's first pre-season game of the summer. That game in Germany against Nuremberg, isn't it? That was a month yesterday. So a little bit of sort of news in terms of what Arsenal's preparation is going to be over the next coming weeks. Now, obviously, a lot of players are away on international duty at the moment when it comes to Arsenal. Martinelli, Gabriel. I think Gabriel, I can't actually remember if Gabriel's gone over with Brazil or not, but there's plenty of Arsenal players who are away on international duty. Saka, obviously, Smith Rowe with the under-21s, those sort of players. Odegaard as well. Obviously, I can't think, my mind's gone blank about all of them. But anyway, players who haven't been on international duty, everyone basically has about 4 weeks off. So the players who haven't had any international commitments this summer, I think they are due back on the 27th of June, which is only, 19 days away now. It's less than 3 weeks. So they are due back at London Colney on the 27th of June. Now, Arsenal are due to fly out to Germany on the 4th of July, I believe it is, and then that first game, they're going to have a couple of days training there, sort of training camp before the game against Nuremberg. I think they're going to be based around where the big Adidas HQ is over there, so there's going to be some sponsor corporate sort of things going on as well with some of the players and Adidas. So they're due to fly out on the 4th of July, and then they come back straight after the game on the 8th. And that period then is when a lot of the international players are due to come back. So they won't be going to Germany. The game in Germany is going to feature a lot of young players and that sort of thing, players who haven't been on international duty. So it'll be a very changed squad for that one. But then the players who have been on international duty, and you include, like I said, Odegaard, Saka, those sort of Saliba, of course, those sort of players, then they are due to come back. And then the squad is going to fly out to the US on the 13th of July, and Arsenal are hoping that pretty much the whole squad then will be back and available for that trip to the States when they then go out and they play, Everton, Chelsea and Orlando City, isn't it, in that game, in that week-long stay in the US before flying back to the UK. They then obviously have the game in the Emirates Cup against Sevilla. I'm told there probably is going to be a sort of behind-closed-doors friendly before coming back from the US and the game against Sevilla. That will be at London Colney, but it will be one of the Arsenal, behind closed doors. I'm sure some sort of details will emerge of it at the time, but there is something penciled in for that little period. And then we're basically into the season starting. I don't think there's going to be another game after the Emirates Cup. Sometimes they'll try and squeeze a behind closed doors game, but I don't think there is going to be one after the Emirates Cup before the last game of the season, first game of the season, because there is obviously a chance that Arsenal, like last season, are going to start on the Friday night because although the dates haven't been announced yet and the fixtures haven't been announced yet, I think the first game of the Premier League season will be a Friday night game as well. So Arsenal quite wisely sort of using that time after the Emirates Cup just to keep things free, just in case they do get moved to the Friday night game. So that's the sort of key dates to look out for if you're looking out for what happens with pre-season. I'll go over that again just now. So non-internationals back on the 27th of June. They fly out to Germany on the 4th of July, a couple of days at a training camp in Germany before the game against, I'm pretty sure it's Nuremberg. I should have looked that up, but I'm pretty sure it's Nuremberg. Then they fly straight back to the UK. They have a few days in the UK before flying out to the States on the 13th of July. And that little period after returning from Germany and before flying out to the States, that's when everyone, including the players who've been on international duty this summer, they are due to come back and meet up with the squad before flying out to the States. So if you're lucky enough to be in the States and hoping to watch Arsenal play in one of the 3 games, it looks like a lot of the internationals should be there. So you should be seeing pretty much a full Arsenal squad for that game. And who knows, maybe a couple of new additions added to it as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate your time. As always, have a very good day. I'll speak to you soon.